Are you as frustrated with your BMW's outdated navigation system as I am? In this video, I'm going to show you how to transform your riding experience with the Carpuride W702BS. We'll unbox it, power it up, take it for a test ride, and I'll give you my conclusions. Let's dive in.
Okay, friends, so let's get on with the unboxing of this unit here. So again, this is the Carpuride 702BS. Again, this unit is designed specifically for BMW motorcycles with the Wonder Wheel. I have a 2016 BMW R1200 GS, and Carpuride, when they reached out, they asked what type of motorcycle specifically that I had so that they could find one that would be compatible. Just looking at the box, of course, it's still got the shrink wrap on it. Looks pretty well done, pretty well sealed. And it says HD display, 7-inch IPS. IPS is the waterproof rating, touchscreen, Bluetooth, TF, I'm not sure what that means, and voice controls. So IP67 rated, CarPlay. It is set up as well for Android Auto and, of course, Bluetooth. Let's go ahead and get this opened up here. Let's tear into this plastic. Get that off. Okay, that's out of the way. The box is really nice, really well made, so that's a good first indication. Now let's open this up. As we open it up, we see that there's a nice styrofoam packing in there and a piece of styrofoam all the way on the top. You can see how thick that is compared to my finger, so that really does provide a lot of good padding for the unit itself. And there you see the Carpuride unit, and let's take that unit out of the box. So there's that. Set it aside just for a second. Let's look inside the box. We have an instruction manual. We'll be taking a look at that. And that's basically it. There's no other components inside this box. And again, this unit is designed specifically for the BMW GS and with the Wonder Wheel control. So my bike does have factory cradle integration on it with the Wonder Wheel. So therefore no other materials are needed, mounting kits, wires, etc., which was one of the beauties of this unit as I was looking at it. So really very straightforward. The unit in the hand, it feels very solid. It is plastic all the way around. It does look very well sealed. There is a little piece of plastic on the back that's covering up the connector, so we'll take that off. We don't need that. And again, there's one port here. It's all sealed up. I also notice on this other side over here, there are some screws and some covers. I have seen some people that have changed the boot screen on the device to put a picture of their motorcycle on it or logo, whatever you might have. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later. I might investigate that. Just looking, I don't see any film on the screen. I don't think there is, but anyway, that's the unit. It feels pretty good, pretty solid. This is the 702BS, which indicates that it is a 7-inch display. Let's just take a look at that, and indeed it is a 7-inch diagonal display. Just for comparison, let me set that just aside just a second. So just for comparison, this is my Garmin Navigator 6. This is my second Navigator unit. I also have a Navigator 5, and I've had quite a number of issues with this, as I mentioned in my last moto vlog, with something called ghosting. And this is where the screen constantly is rotating, is flipping through different screens like it's possessed by demons or something like that. So I've really had some issues because when that happens, the unit is completely non-functional. And the Garmin device, by the way, is, if I can just take a look at that, the Garmin device is 5-inch diagonal. So that's the Garmin unit. If we look at the back, we see those similar connector strips running there that connect to the factory navigation cradle. And those of you that have used the Garmin device before know that it's designed to work with Garmin Basecamp, which is a very complicated, cumbersome application for route planning. It does allow very detailed route planning, and I have used that when I'm on the road with my computer to go through Basecamp, map things out, do a map upload, or do a track upload to the device, and then you have it available. But navigating, I find, is very cumbersome, and especially going through Basecamp. So if we turn both of these units over, you will notice that they're basically identical on the back. The connectors are identical on both units. Also, the physical dimensions are identical. I'm curious to see if the Carpuride unit will lock into the navigation cradle like my Garmin device does, so that you don't have to worry about taking it off the bike. But we'll see that when we fit it to the bike and take a look at it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to turn this unit on right now without bike power. Definitely feels good in the hand. I like the fact that there's a little bit of a sun shield effect to keep the sun directly off from shining on the screen. So that's a nice feature. And yeah, so that's the unboxing. There's one other thing that I wanted to do just before we move on to mounting this on the bike. And that's, I brought a little scale with me. If I turn that on, that's zeroed out. And if I weigh the Navigator unit, 9.95 ounces, and I will do a conversion of that to metric when I get done. And then if I put the Carpuride unit, 15.03 ounces, so substantial difference in weight between the two units, but really I think that's just due to the size and everything. So that's it. That's my initial unboxing of the Carpuride W702BS Navigator unit that is designed specifically to work with the BMW R1200 GS unit. Again, Carpuride does make a lot of other devices. I've looked on their website, and they even have some models that are integrated with dash cams, so there's lots of options that are out there. And also you have the possibility of adding a cradle if you don't have one already on your bike. But for me, I was really looking for a one-to-one replacement. So let's get this on the bike and see what it looks like. Okay, and welcome to the garage. In this segment, we're going to take the Carpuride W702BS and we're going to go through the initial mounting and connection on the bike. So as you can see, I've got the standard BMW navigation cradle along with the Wonder Wheel, as it's affectionately known. I've got two cameras set up here, so hopefully we'll be able to see everything. And as we go through the demonstration and the static fitting of the device. So the first thing we're going to do is to mount it. This is very simple. It basically just clicks in, just exactly like that. And then there is a slide on the edge here that we need to push in, turn the key and remove. And now one of the things I wanted to find out is if the unit was secure, and it absolutely is. So that's good. So the standard locking of the device in the cradle works just as expected. So we're now ready for our first power up. So we'll do that. We'll turn the bike on, get the splash screen, and then very quickly, then we're into the main Carpuride screen. Let me give you just a little bit of a tour here around the device, and it looks like it's already found my phone, but we'll go into that in just a little bit later. So just a quick overview of the screen. It's really wanting to connect. So you'll notice up here on the top left, BMW and Nav. Now, my bike, because it's a 2016 R1200 GS, does not have the TFT display. And those bikes that have the display have a button on the knob where you can switch the function of the Wonder Wheel between the bike and the Navigator unit. I don't have that, so this function really does not mean anything for me. Outside temperature, right up here as well is a little, it almost looks like a sunrise, and it says mode. If I click that, that takes between day and night mode. I prefer the night mode myself. And in the center of the display, the speedometer, mile per hour. If you long press that for 5 seconds, it will switch to kilometers per hour. Again, long press one more time, and we're back to miles per hour. Likewise, just while we're talking about units, let me mention right over here on the bottom right, front and rear tire pressure, very important. You can see that, PSI. If you press and hold the PSI, that will also then switch to KPA, that will switch to bar, and that will switch back to PSI. So very important. You'll have your rev meter over here, engine temperature, and then this gauge over here on this side is a little misleading, but on that side it's the throttle position. So as I'm moving the throttle, you see that move a little bit. And tire pressures obviously will not show up until the bike is in motion. We have a front and rear brake indicator. One other thing, you see a little symbol right there. If I press that, that brings up the brightness meter. On the left-hand side is the auto brightness, either on or off, or that's either the auto brightness on or off, or to manually adjust the brightness. So I'm going to leave that in the auto position. And then if I touch anywhere on the screen, that goes away. Obviously the trip function, odometer, and then the gear position. So that gives you a pretty good overview of the basic screen on the W702BS. So I think the next thing we want to do is to connect the Carpuride unit to my phone. I'm going to go into Bluetooth on my phone. Okay, so I want to make sure that the device is discoverable. I come over to my phone. I see the Carpuride unit. I select that. I get a pairing request. I note that the numbers match on both of them. Pair. I'm going to allow the favorites to sync. Pairing request. Connect to CarPlay, very important. We're set up. If we go into settings and we go into Bluetooth, again, paired list, we see our phone, so that is good to go. And now we can return back. An audio output. This is very important. There are two different methods to connect here. And I'll show a little graphic on the screen here, but you can either make the Carpuride the center between your phone on one side and the helmet on the other, where both devices are connected in, and that is known as this Bluetooth transmission. Or you can use it in that your phone is connected to your helmet, and in my case I'm using a Cardo Packtalk Edge, and I want my phone to be able to communicate with my helmet so that I can use all the control buttons on my helmet, and then my phone is also connected to the Carpuride unit. So in this case, the phone is in the middle, and the helmet is on one side, and the Carpuride unit is on the other. I have heard of some issues where when you use this Bluetooth transmission choice, that there have been some audio issues with phone calls. You can take a look at that and make a decision that you find is best for you. But with this, everything will function through your phone. You will get audio through your headset. Again, in my case, the Cardo Packtalk, you will get all of the voice instructions, etc. So if we go back home now, apps, and you'll notice that when I press the turn cancel button, it highlights the app choice. I can then also use the Wonder Wheel to switch over to information. Let's take a look at that very quickly. This has some basic information about the bike. This screen is also customizable. There are several tutorials that are out there on YouTube that tell you how to do that. I'm not going to go through that in this video. And what we want to do now is go into the app. I'm going to select that, then I'm going to push right to select. Now as I rotate, I can move through the different, and so now we're in the standard. Since I'm using Apple CarPlay, I will be going into CarPlay, and then this brings up all of the standard applications. Car Home would take you back to the previous slide. So when I'm in the apps, if I do a long hold escape, so I'm going to push the wheel that way and I'm going to hold it, it will take me all the way back out to the first bike information screen. To navigate from this screen, I'm going to press the turn cancel. I'm going to select. I can see that it's already on iPlay. Bam, I'm into that. If I navigate around to Google Maps, which is what I typically use, that will go into Google Maps. And then if I take the scroll wheel to the right, I get all of the typical functions here, recent searches, home, etc. So I'm just going to go into recent searches, select that. Pitt Street Bridge, which was something I was looking at, I select that, searching. Okay, I find it, and I am ready to go to navigate. So once you're in an app, if you escape out, that takes you back to the main functions, and this pulls all of my apps in from my phone. Obviously, I know that the touchscreen works with my finger. I want to use gloves. These particular ones are Climb. They are touch capacitive. You see the little lightning bolts on there, and you see that I can scroll back and forth. I can use all of the functions without any issues. I also have a pair of BMW GS gloves, and let's just see here. So those do work. It takes a little more effort with these gloves. So you need to be careful about that and make sure that your gloves are working properly. I would recommend that you do some testing of that just to be sure. And now for my final test, I am going to be connecting up my helmet to the unit. So the first thing I'm going to do is to turn on the unit. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the microphone inside so that you'll be able to hear the commands as they come up. In Google Maps, we do a search. We look at recent searches. Let's just pick something here from the list. We'll take Brick House Ruin. Typical display. Hit start.
Head northwest, then turn left.
And then you have the voice navigation coming through the helmet. So that all works. So there we go. There we have it. We have the static test of the Carpuride W702BS in the garage here. I think the most critical thing about the connection is making sure that you have it connected up properly. Again, two different methods, either having the Carpuride unit in the middle or having your phone in the middle, and making sure that you select that. And that is the biggest challenge that you've got to get through. Everything else is pretty straightforward. The operation of the Wonder Wheel is straightforward, again, to select, to escape out, and also the use of the little turn cancel button. But great functionality, huge improvement on my bike, especially since I have the old school analog and the small digital gauge down there on the bottom. So really the next step is to get this thing out on the road and test it out and see what we think under speed and how it works. So let's go do that. So hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to get out and do a little test of the Carpuride W702BS on my BMW motorcycle. I've done the unboxing, I've done the garage session, and now I wanted to do just a little bit riding just to give you some impressions. And I'm on the main screen right now. Also tire pressure. I'm noticing that my front and rear tires are a little bit low, so definitely want to top those off before too long. Gear indicator, 4th gear, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to press the turn signal cancel. We're just going to push that straight in, and I want you to watch on the bottom left here, and with that highlighted, we're now going to select that with the wonder wheel. It lets me know that the sound is being played through my iPlay. So I am going to select the CarPlay. This brings me right into all of my CarPlay apps, and I think what I want to do next, I'm going to scroll over to Google Maps, which is the navigation app that I typically use. Also my recent searches. Also, I'll just pick something here. I'll pick this Pitt Street Bridge. Searching. Starting. And I am getting through my helmet the turn-by-turn navigation that comes through CarPlay. So that is all fine and dandy. And now to exit out of this app, I'm going to escape. So anyway, let's get out of that. So I'm going to switch over to Pandora Radio, and that is coming through loud and clear. Actually a little too loud, so I turn the volume down on my Cardo just by rolling the wheel backward. So that's all working fine. Get a lot of fresh pavement here. Definitely need to watch out for the edge traps. That's all looking good. Again, if I do a long hold, it will take me all the way back to the initial screen, where you've got a lot of good basic information on the bike. Again, tire pressures, all of that, all of the basic information that you really need. General purposes, this really works out fine. And again, if I push the turn cancel button, this gives us the option to be able to then go into the apps. Hey Cardo, music off. You know, another big benefit of hooking everything up directly with the Cardo, you can use all the Cardo voice commands without having to navigate on the screen on and off, that type of thing. So that really improves things quite a bit. So the integration between the Carpuride unit, the phone, and the Cardo Packtalk Edge that I'm using is really pretty good. Even volume up, volume down without having to touch the Cardo unit. One thing I am noticing is that this is creating quite a power draw on my phone. I started off with the battery on my phone roughly 55%, something like that, and I'm now down below a quarter. I had to stop and I did review some of my looking at some of the video and checking video quality and framing and that type of thing. So probably burned a little bit of energy there. But I definitely think that the way to go is to have the phone in your pocket, or I'll probably leave my phone in my tank bag, and hook it up to a battery bank, and that way it's charging. You're going to have battery, because if the phone dies, obviously, then that's going to kill your cell service. It's going to kill the whole purpose of the CarPlay. So definitely need to keep an eye on the battery level. That's one of the great things about having the CarPlay display, is you can continually see the battery level. That works out pretty good. Hey, Cardo music on. I'm also a Cardo affiliate, and I will put a link down in the description where you can purchase the Cardo products if you're interested in that. Definitely highly recommend the Cardo unit just for connectivity. So this pretty much wraps up the bike evaluation portion of my review. Pretty happy with the unit so far. I really like the visibility. The screen resolution is really good on it, and all the CarPlay features, everything works. I also really like the Wonder Wheel integration and the ability to switch back and forth between the apps is really good. You know, typically I'm only going to be using just a couple of apps. Google Maps primarily. I use Waze every now and then. Also some weather apps. Those would be really the main apps that I would be using. So this really concludes my bike review of the Carpuride W702BS, which is designed to work with my BMW GS motorcycle with the factory navigation cradle and the Wonder Wheel here. I will be doing one final segment, and that is really my conclusions on the device and any recommendations, that type of thing. So that will be coming up next. Really a great ride today, perfect weather conditions.
So that's it. This is the conclusion of my review of the 702BS unit. Carpuride sent me the new 702BS to check out. No strings attached. They didn't pay me for this video, and what you've heard are my personal opinions. If you do decide to purchase, there's a 30% discount with the code Duncan, D-U-N-C-A-N. That gets the price below $300 for the 702BS unit. As I checked it this morning, that would have been $293.93. The main highlights of the unit for me are really the visibility and legibility of the screen. It's a huge improvement from my old GS. It's like an instant upgrade. If you have the factory navigation cradle and Wonder Wheel, it's really a simple, seamless installation, and it's like a new life for my 9-year-old BMW. There's no need for you to mount your phone on your handlebars for navigation. You can tuck that safely away in your pocket or your tank bag for safekeeping. Next, I want to talk about the Carpuride versus a dedicated GPS unit. Because the CarPlay device relies on your phone, and it's naturally dependent on cell service for map coverage. Therefore, if you're doing backwoods remote riding without cell service, you may find yourself without maps. On the other hand, I've used CarPlay all over Mexico and Europe, and I've not had any issues. You of course have to make sure that you have cell service, either using a local SIM card or making sure that your cell phone service has coverage in that country. So as I've mentioned, I've used the Navigator 5 and the Navigator 6 before. The big issue there to load maps is you have to use an application called Basemap. This is very difficult and fairly complicated, so definitely keep that in mind. If you want to do detailed route planning, base map may be the way to go. Also, with regard to audio, there are two different ways that you can connect the Carpuride unit to your phone and to your headset. This is one of the most important connection steps for you to make. So please take a look at the manual, and that will give you a lot of good advice on the best choice for you. I'm also a Cardo affiliate, and I will provide an affiliate link there if you would like to consider any of the Cardo products as well. There are a couple of negatives that I would like to point out to make sure that you're aware of. The first thing is it does create a large battery drain on your phone, so I would recommend that you keep your phone connected to power while you're using the Carpuride device on your bike. This makes sure that the battery on your phone stays charged and fresh. There's also a slight learning curve with regard to the Wonder Wheel and how to use it, and that takes only about 10 minutes to get that figured out. The other negative I mentioned is really the audio connection and making sure that you select the best choice for your situation. I'd also like to note that if you're considering purchasing a Carpuride unit, please note that they make a lot of different models. Please be sure to check that you're getting the correct one for your bike. Contact customer service if you have any questions, give them the specifics of your bike, and they'll guide you through the process to make sure that you can select the proper unit for your situation. I'd hate for you to order a unit and receive it and it not work with your bike. Next, I was not able to test the Android CarPlay since I don't have an Android device, but from what I've heard from other users, everything works just fine. I didn't test the waterproof capability of the device. It does indicate that it's IP67, which is a certification, so I assume that it is satisfactory. I haven't heard negative results around the unit not being waterproof. That's my review of the W702BS dashboard unit from Carpuride. I'd like to thank them for sending me this unit for review. And if you're getting value out of this review, please give me a big thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Talk soon.
Stormy skies on wings of flame, I carve my path, no fear, no shame. With every mile the world